So good morning. So today we're going to be looking at the assignment brief for the People Management Unit. So before I actually get onto the assignment brief itself, I'd like to bring your attention to the unit specification sheet. Now on here we have 4 learning outcomes, and the grading structure for this is a pass, merit or distinction. Now it's entirely up to you what sort of grading structure that you're going for. Now, if you want to go for the pass grade, the only tasks you will need to do are for the pass ones. So all the ones under the P. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2.1, 2.2, 3.1, and then 4.1 and 4.2. If you're interested in going for the merit grade, you will need to complete any merit questions assessment criteria that are within the specification sheet. So it's 2M1 and 3M1. Now, if you would like to, with the merit, you would also need to complete all of your passes and the merits. That is the way it works. Now, if you want to go for the distinction, you would need to complete every single question that's on here. So all of the passes, all of the merits, and all of the distinctions. And then towards the bottom, just as a bit of a helping hand, we've got something called indicative content. And this, it just sets out a guideline of what sort of topics, what sort of things you should be mentioning and elaborating on within your assignment. So it's always a nice thing to refer to if you ever get stuck or if you just want a bit of a reminder. And then we have the assignment brief. Now this sets out a scenario and you've got a few tasks on here. So I'm not actually going to go through this here because we've got a PowerPoint which explains everything extremely clearly. So I'll refer to that now. So we've got a few useful tips actually before I get onto the assignment brief. So make sure that you actually read the tasks carefully, focus on all of the details and also on the command verbs. So as a guidance, we suggest that for action or command verbs, you cover these here. So explain, define, and describe could be between 70 to 100 words. So remember, the command verbs are when it says explain, or define, or describe, or assess, or examine at the beginning of each assessment criteria. So for example, 1.1 is explain how organizational structure impacts on people in organization. Then you have analyze how organizational culture impacts on people in organization. Then in learning outcome 2, you have assess, you've got evaluate, you've got analyze. So those are the command verbs. So for assess, examine, clarify, or analyze, we suggest between 100 to 125 words. Compare, contrast, critically, so this could be critically assess, critically evaluate, critically analyze, so anything with the critically in front of it, and then evaluate, so between 150 to 200 words. So make sure you also do Harvard referencing. So your Harvard referencing, it needs to be obviously in the Harvard style. So you've got to put down the author, the date. So for example, we've got an example here. So Slack, Johnson, Brandon, Jones, these are the authors, and 2011 is the date. So assessments. So for theory questions, so theory assessment criteria, you're going to have explain, define, and describe. So again, 70 to 100 words. You've got application assessment criteria. So assess, examine, clarify, or analyze is 100 to 125 words. And then examples, where you need some examples of your own, or to include company examples in here. So it would be compare, contrast, critically, or evaluate. That's 150 to 200 words. Now, there's many types of assessment. Some of these can be professional development, presentations, report writing, observations, or even academic writing, where you're doing a written report or an assignment. Now, the way that we would like this to be presented, the structure of this, is extremely good practice to put the unit number and the name on the top. of at the beginning of your assignment. So start off with a bit of an introduction. So this could be between 30 to 50 words. So just introduce what you're doing, and then write out the learning outcome. So underneath the learning outcome, for each question that you're answering, write out the assessment criteria on top of it. So learning outcome, and then put the assessment criteria on top of each question that you're answering. So use a font size of 12, and then a line spacing of 1.5. Put in page numbers in, draw up a table of contents, and then also include a conclusion. That'll be about 20 to 30 words. You're just capping off what you've done within your assignment. And then obviously references at the end. So now going into the actual assignment. Now this will actually mirror your assignment brief here. The document that you've got on Moodle, everything is available on Moodle under the People Management unit. So the scenario is you are completing a placement year as part of your undergraduate degree in Human Resources Management and have secured a placement at the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, so CIPD. You work in the research section, which provides information on all aspects of HR. So during your placement, you will also have to undertake several assignments for your academic institution. Now, you've got a few activities for this. So activity 1. Now, activity 1 will actually cover Learning Outcome 1, so AC 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. It will cover Learning Outcome 2, so 2.1, 2.2, and then also the merit and the distinction questions for Learning Outcome 2. So meeting with your line manager. As part of your induction to the placement, your line manager wants to ensure that you have a firm understanding of how structure, culture, and other factors impact on people in organizations. He also wants you to understand the differences between managing individuals and managing teams. So, he has invited you to a meeting to discuss the topics below. So, meeting preparation. In preparation for this meeting, so what you're going to do is this is where your tasks are coming in now. So in preparation for this meeting, you have decided to produce a file which addresses each of the topics listed below. You will discuss this with him at the meeting. So the contents of the file may be used to provide information to new staff, so it's important that it's written in an appropriate style. And now your file must include an explanation of how organizational structure impacts on people in organizations, an analysis of how organizational culture impacts on people in organizations, an analysis of how organizational policies and procedures impact on people in organizations, and an assessment of approaches to managing the performances of individuals. So we're continuing on. So the meeting follow-up. So at the meeting, you have a very interesting discussion about how structure, culture, and other factors such as organizational policies and procedures can influence the strategies used to manage staff effectively. You also discuss some of the differences between managing an individual and managing a team. Your discussion draws on live examples from you and your line manager. Following the meeting, your line manager asks you to send him a paper by email consolidating your learning from the discussion. So in the email, you should explain the steps needed to create and maintain effective teams. For the merit, you would evaluate the external factors which impact on the management of individuals and teams. And for a distinction, you'd also need to analyze the management of teams and individuals through the process of strategic organizational change. So this covers, like I said previously, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 from Learning Outcome 1, and then 2.1 and 2.2 from learning outcome 2. And then if you would like to attempt the merit, you would need to do the evaluation of the external factors. And if you would like to attempt the distinction, you will need to analyze the management of teams. And then we go on to activity 2. What you're doing here is you're preparing an article for the CIPD website. So following a successful meeting and on completion of your introductory period, your line manager has been very impressed with your work so far. So he has asked you to submit a draft article for the CIPD website. So the purpose of this article is to help CIPD members understand how to develop individuals and teams. Your article should include case studies of business leaders and organizations and should cover the following points. So you have an analysis of different training and development approaches used by organizations to attract, develop, and improve individuals and teams. The merit will be an assessment of the effect of incentives and rewards on the development of individuals and teams, and the distinction you need to provide an assessment of the contribution of the application of motivational theories on the development of individuals and teams. So this will cover learning outcome 3, assessment criteria 3.1, which is an analysis of the different training and development approaches, 3M1, which is an assessment of the effect of incentives and rewards, and then 3D1 is an assessment of the contributions of the application of motivational theories. And then we go on to activity 3, which is the last activity for this assignment. So what you're doing is a case study for assessment for your undergraduate degree. So as part of the interim assessment, of the work placement, your academic institution has asked you to produce an assignment that uses an organizational case study to demonstrate your ability to review people management strategies in an organization. So you can actually base your assignment on a case study of any organization that you're familiar with and where you can access the relevant information. So the case study should describe people management strategies in your chosen organization and assess the impact of people management strategies on individuals and teams in your chosen organization. So this will cover you for learning outcome 4, which will be assessment criteria 4.1 and 4.2. Now, the PowerPoints for each learning outcome are available on Moodle. The unit specification sheet, the assignment brief, that is also on there. Now, if you use your presentations for each learning outcome, if you access them, all the information is there. So look at it, review it, and use what you need for your assignment. Remember, if you're going to use some of the work that's already on there, change it into your own words, and you should be perfectly fine. Remember, just look into your, go down to the unit specification sheet, look at the indicative content, and that will actually give you an indicator of what actually needs to be looked at and involved in each assignment brief.